felt miserable about its life. It was saddened by how people shunned it, how no one loved it, and how even finding food was a struggle. Feeling hopeless, the crow thought that death might be better than living such a shameful existence. One day, as it sat on a tree crying, a tear fell onto a monk sitting beneath it. The monk looked up and asked why the crow was in such distress. The crow shared its sorrow and its deep desire to change its fate. The kind-hearted monk gently explained that every creature has its own value and that happiness comes from accepting oneself. However, the crow could not understand these words and still wished to become a different bird, believing that would lead to a better life. Hearing the crow's complaints, the monk smiled and said, "We should learn to be happy with what we have." However, the crow still could not grasp this wisdom. It remained convinced that its life was too miserable and longed to be another bird. The monk looked at the crow with kindness and said, "If you truly wish to change, I can help you with my mantra. But before you decide, go and find a swan. Ask whether it is happy with its life. Then come back to me and I will help you." Hearing this, the crow excitedly flew off in search of a swan, believing it was about to change its destiny. It was convinced that swans must be the happiest birds because of their pure white feathers and the admiration they received from people. Eager to hear the swan's answer, the crow was hopeful that soon it would have a new and better life. Crow flew to a lake and found a swan gracefully gliding across the water. It immediately asked, "Oh, swan, you are so beautiful. Your feathers are as white as snow. You must be the happiest bird in the world." The swan sadly shook its head and said, "No, my friend, I once thought I was happy, but then I realized that the world is full of vibrant colors while I am just plain white. I always feel dull and uninteresting. I think the parrot must be the happiest bird because it has such colorful feathers." Hearing this, the crow quickly flew off to find a parrot. When it finally saw one, it exclaimed in admiration, "Oh, parrot, you are so beautiful with your bright and colorful feathers. You must be the happiest bird in the world." But the parrot sighed and said, "No, my friend, because of my beauty, people often catch us and keep us in cages. I always live in fear that someone will take away my freedom. I believe the peacock is the happiest bird, as it is even more beautiful than I am." Hearing this, the crow continued its journey, flying off to find a peacock, hoping to discover the true meaning of happiness. The crow kept flying in search of a peacock. Eventually, it found one in a zoo, surrounded by hundreds of people admiring its beauty. Once the crowd left, the crow approached and said, "Oh, peacock, you are so magnificent. People come from everywhere just to admire you. Surely you must be the happiest bird in the world." The peacock sighed and shook its head. "No, my friend, I once thought I was the happiest bird because of my dazzling feathers. But because of my beauty, I am trapped in this zoo and I have lost my freedom. Even worse, people pluck my feathers to make decorations, which causes me great pain. After thinking for a long time, I have come to realize that there is only one bird that is truly happy, and that is the crow." The crow was shocked. "Why me?" The peacock smiled and said, "Because you are the only bird that is not kept in a cage. People do not try to trap or harm you. You can fly freely wherever you want without anyone stopping you." Hearing this, the crow suddenly realized the truth. It immediately flew back to the monk, feeling completely different than before. For the first time in its life, the crow felt happy just being itself. The crow hurriedly returned to the monk, its mind filled with thoughts. When it arrived, it spoke in an emotional voice. "Master, I met the swan, the parrot, and even the peacock. At first, I thought they were all happier than me, but I discovered that each of them has their own troubles. The swan dislikes its plain white feathers, the parrot fears being caged, and the peacock, the bird I admired most, is imprisoned because of its beauty. In the end, the peacock told me that I am actually the happiest bird because I have the freedom that they all long for." The monk smiled gently and said, "Now do you understand? In life, we often compare ourselves to others and feel unhappy. But the truth is, everyone has their own struggles that others cannot see. If you keep comparing yourself to others, you will never be satisfied. Happiness does not come from having more, but from appreciating what you already have." For the first time, the crow felt at peace. It no longer wished to be another bird. Instead, it learned to love itself and enjoy the life it had been given.